Lord Most High, our Heavenly Father, all our lives we dedicate to Thee. All our labors, all our joys and woes, all our pleasure, all our melody.
The voice of God calls us to awaken Him. How will He find us when He comes?
Awake and ready.
And when He asks us to dedicate ourselves ever more perfectly to Him, how will He find us?
Awake and ready.
Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Friend, beloved God,
Friend, beloved God,
Great Masters,
Great Masters,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Paramhansa Yogananda,
Paramhansa Yogananda,
Saints of all religions,
Saints of all religions,
we humbly bow to you all.
we humbly bow to you all.
Bless us,
Bless us,
that we feel your presence
that we feel your presence
in our hearts,
in our hearts,
in our minds,
in our minds,
in our every action.
in our every action.
Make us your pure channels
Make us your pure channels
to share your blessings
to share your blessings
in this world,
in this world,
to bring a bouquet of souls
to bring a bouquet of souls
home to thee.
home to Thee.
Om peace. Amen. Please have a seat.
Lord Most High, our Heavenly Father,
All our lives we dedicate to Thee.
all our labors, all our joys and woes,
All our pleasure, all our
melody. Make us each a channel of Thy peace.
when in darkness, guide us from above.
Where there's sorrow, may we sow Thy joy.
Where there's hatred,
meditate with eyes closed, holding your consciousness at the point between the eyebrows and an open heart. And let's listen to these words together from Affirmations for Self-Healing on our topic this week, inspiration. Inspiration is of two kinds: the rediscovery or rearrangement of thoughts that already exist in the subconscious mind, and the sudden appearance of new thoughts or new insights from the superconscious. This higher inspiration certainly is more to be desired than the lower, for it is based in truth and not in imagination. It is not always easy, however, to recognize the difference between lower and higher inspiration, particularly when the lower is vitalized by the emotions. When inspiration comes, receive it with calm love, and see whether, untouched by emotion, its impulse grows stronger or weaker. Love is the water that nourishes true inspiration. Let's affirm together, first in a strong voice, and then we'll do it progressively softer until silently. I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
In calmness I receive inspiration from my higher self.
In calmness I receive inspiration from my higher
A
self.
little softer, I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within.
In calmness I receive inspiration from my higher self.
In calmness I receive inspiration from my higher self.
Softer still, I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within. In calmness I receive inspiration from my higher self. Mentally now, I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within. In calmness I receive inspiration from my higher self. One more time, broadcasting from the superconscious center at the point between the eyebrows. I hold my thoughts up to the calmness within. In calmness, I receive inspiration from my higher self. And pray silently with me. O Spirit, thou art all truth. In thee lies the solution to my every need. Inspire me now, Lord. Show me which path to follow of the many that lie before me. Oh, peace. Good morning, friends. My name is Narayan. For those who don't know us, this is my wife, Dharmadevi. So welcome to old friends, new friends, and friends joining us online. And every week we share from this book, Rays of the One Light. These are weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Gita. You know, there are seats up front. If any of you guys want to come, there's a couple seats, I think, by Suryani there. And this topic, as I mentioned before, is who are true Christians? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Jesus Christ said in chapter 10 of the Gospel of St. John, "All that ever came before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them." Many Christians, not surprisingly, quote this saying in condemnation of other spiritual teachers, not only the Old Testament prophets, but also Buddha, Krishna, and others who lived before Jesus, as well as, by inference, any who came after him. Yet Jesus himself said in St. Matthew chapter 5, "Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill." Nowhere do we find Jesus condemning or even gently criticizing other spiritual masters. His criticisms were reserved for worldly attitudes and for those hypocritical Pharisees who had allowed religion to become for them a pretense. Paramhansa Yogananda explained that the expression, "all that ever came before me," referred to those spiritual teachers who place their egos and their self-importance ahead of the Christ consciousness, in the sense of drawing people's devotion to themselves and not offering it where alone it truly belongs, to God. Yogananda himself was very firm in this regard. For example, he never spoke of anyone as his disciples. Instead, he always insisted they are God's disciples. God is the guru, not I. Ego is a way station on the soul's journey toward enlightenment. The soul is first trapped in lower bodily forms. Slowly it evolves to the human level, at which point self-consciousness appears. Only in human form can self-consciousness transcend material form altogether, including the lower identity of ego consciousness, and discover the true, divine self within. Self-consciousness manifested as ego is an incentive to deliberate self-development. Later in this process of development, however, the ego becomes an obstruction. Inevitably, new spiritual aspirants do not emerge effortlessly from the vortex of ego consciousness. Desire must be offered up resolutely and ever more wholeheartedly on the altar of infinity. It is a gradual process, and few, even among those who seek to help others, are free of ego. If, however, their motive in teaching is not to serve, but to be served, they deserve a severe reprimand as Jesus gave them. For their direction of development is no longer upward, but downward. In the name of giving up desires, they are creating new ones. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 3rd chapter, desire obscures even the wisdom of the wise. Their relentless foe it is, a flame never quenched. Intellect, mind, and senses, these combined are referred to as the seat of desire. Desire through them deludes and eclipses the discrimination of the embodied soul. O Arjuna, discipline your senses, and having done so, work to destroy desire, annihilator of wisdom and of self-realization. Give God the credit for everything you do. See Him as the true doer. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
From Eternity. This is Yogananda's prayer demands. And this one is, tune us that we may hear thy voice. Volumes of thy Savior voice resound through the loudspeaker of every loving heart. The voice of thy wisdom roams through the ether of space, seeking everywhere hearts that are tuned to ecstasy. Sadly, thy warning sermons pass unheard by souls deafened with the static of sense pleasures. O divine broadcaster, tune our souls, long distracted by the static of our indifference. Fine-tune us with the delicate touch of soul perception. Grant us the privilege of hearing thy magic melodies in the ecstasy of divine awakening. So Keshava reminded me yesterday that I've given this talk on who are true Christians several times in the past. And I was kind of like, oh, really? I did? But so I started preparing for it yesterday and was having a hard time forming any inspiration around it. And I guess I started to remember, I think I already said that. I think I said that. I was like, I don't have anything new to say. And then Narayan came out and said, but I was still, writing away, and Narayan said, why don't you talk about your experience during Spiritual Renewal Week, which was a couple of weeks ago. And so ripped down and crumpled up the paper. Okay, well, there went my notes. So this experience I have only shared with Narayan and one other dear friend, but so bear with me as I try to share this what happened during Spiritual Renewal Week up at Ananda Village. And so we had been there up in the foothills of the Sierra Nevadas, and very peaceful, very joyful. Also during Spiritual Renewal Week, many devotees come from around the world. And so there's not only this peaceful vibration, there's also a really high vibration. It's a lot of activities, very uplifting activities, but a lot of activities. So we had been going and from one class into a service and another inspiration, meeting with friends from long past, and just really feeling the joy of that week. And I woke up one morning and we were meditating, and very odd, this isn't something that's ever happened to me before, but this melody came into my mind, this song. And first it started with the melody, and I was like, that's interesting. And I was kind of going, what's next? I don't know. What do you ask for? I remember Swami saying, give me a melody, and then the melody would come. I'm like, I didn't ask for a melody. What do you want me to do now? And so I was like, okay, well, are there words that go with this melody? And then this story started to, not so much the words, but the story started to play through my mind of a man who, just like so many of us, had gone through his life and kind of felt that something was missing in his life as he went through adolescence and adulthood and then the end of life, but he never quite got to it where he said, something's missing and I'm going to change, I'm going to make a change, I'm going to do something, I'm going to find out what that is. He just kind of went through, and that was the end. And it was a heartbreaking story because it hit home, right? It's something that we can all relate to. As this melody is coming, these words are coming, I was weeping. It was so moving in the sense, not of sadness, but of a deep understanding and a deeper resolution. Not again. Not again. And the refrain, I guess it was, the one that plays multiple times, was about spiritual community. And that was what was so powerful, was this story that was so sad, and the refrain was the answer. And you may be familiar with that passage from the Bible where Jesus is with his disciples and they say, oh, Lord, Master, your mother and your brothers are here. They want to see you. And he says, who is my mother? Who are my brothers? Save those who love God. And I'm paraphrasing, but save here, this is how I've always heard that. Save he who loves God. It's not save, like as in save them, it's accept. Who are my brethren? Except those who love God. And this just really, I felt so powerfully the blessing of spiritual community in that moment. This is how we find God. This is how we help ourselves through so many obstacles, so many things, if we're open to changing and open to the lesson. And so these words were coming, and I said to Narayan, and we finished meditating, I said, the strangest thing happened. I start to try to relate this story to him, and I just couldn't. It was the word, every time I would start to say the word, I'd just start bawling. I'm like, what is going on? This is weird. I'm not a baller. But it was just, they were so deeply meaningful. And so the other person I shared this story with was Ramesha, who, along with his wife Bhagavati, are the music ministers for Ananda worldwide. And so he was saying, well, can you sing for me the refrain? And I started to, and just, it just wouldn't come out. He said, maybe when you can get it together, you can share it with me. I said, yeah, I think I'll do that. But that refrain, and that's the inspiration I want to pull in from for today's service, is on spiritual community. And we have a small community here, a budding community. I hear so many times, just with this very small community we have, how can I overcome this feeling of dislike for someone in the community? How can I get over, I feel that someone's manipulating me, or I feel that someone is mean to me, or I feel that someone is annoying. How can I get over it? And you know what the answer is? Be grateful. Be grateful. Saint Teresa said when she was with her nuns, those that she was teaching, you could say her disciples, and she was a great master, that there were a couple of the older nuns that were there in the convent, and they were grouchy, they were just like ornery old nuns, and you could tell they didn't really want to be there, but they had nothing to go back to. So they were just there and just grinding it out, And some of the younger nuns came to St. Teresa and said, why do we have to endure this in a place of God? Why are they here? Can't they leave? And St. Teresa said, if they weren't here, it would behoove us to go out on the streets and find people like them, bring them here, so that we could grow. So that we could grow spiritually. And so when someone in the community rubs us the wrong way, right? Even in that word, rubs us the wrong way, it implies duality, right? Because there's rubbing the right way. Someone's rubbing me the right way. Someone's rubbing me the wrong way, right? It's just our likes and dislikes. So if we can pick it up from the thread that is beyond duality, from pure joy, this goes beyond just this little community, of course. This is our workplace, this is our friends, this is our families. We all have micro communities within our lives that we can apply this to. So when someone's rubbing you the wrong way, think, this is helping me understand what my likes and dislikes are. This is a dislike, rubbing the wrong way. This is a like, rubbing me the right way. And how can I get beyond this world of duality? How can I get beyond my likes and dislikes? Why? Why do we need to get beyond our likes and dislikes? We can't be free without getting beyond our likes and dislikes. Yogananda would suggest taking a nice cold shower and being completely untouched by the freezing cold water. He would go out into the ocean at night when it was really cold in the winter and sit there in the water, training his body to be okay. I'm not suggesting that we go do that, but he was sharing this with us for a reason, and he would surround his body, his whole being, with this beautiful blue protective light. So we have to take baby steps. We can't just say, everything is fine, I'm all good with everyone, I love everyone. We can say that. It's not a bad thing to say. But we have to also accept where we are and that we're working through our likes and dislikes. We don't instantly overcome our likes and dislikes, but we put out the effort. And how do we do that? That's what I'm coming back to again and again. It's simply gratitude. It is simply understanding this person has rubbed me the wrong way because there's something I still need to learn. Isn't that a great thing to understand? That we're not free yet. We have things to overcome, things to deal with. And this person or these people, for example, Yogananda talked of a monk who was there in Mount Washington, and there was a brother monk that was just really getting under his skin, and he couldn't handle it. He left. And he came back several months later and said to Yogananda and to his fellow monks there, when I left and I went somewhere else, there were 7, let's call them Johns, there were 7 Johns that then were surrounding me. When we run from our failings, when we run from our fears, we only draw more to ourselves. You know, what I realized from this song and this melody that came, and that there was something within me that was afraid of spiritual community. It's really interesting. I was like, never thought about it being a fear. But what I realized was that throughout my life, I've been very independent. I had grown proud of my independent nature. So I had a nadi reading, like not an astrological reading, but passed on from age after age after age. In India, they have these people who read these ancient books and ancient palm leaves that we went to, and a very deep intuitive soul. And so he was telling me about my past lives, about my present life, which that one I knew he was right on about. So I knew then what he was sharing about the past and about the future were probably spot on. So what he said to me was that he said, you know, a little later in life you'll have more focus, more concentration. And I said, well, you know, kind of being like, give me more. I was like, so how do I get more concentration? How do I get more freedom? And after he said it's happening spontaneously, like calm down, relax, it's happening, he said, continue to serve your guru's community. And I thought, that's not hard. And then that weekend of Spiritual Renewal Week, I realized it is hard. It's not easy to serve the Guru's community. It takes everything we have, because suddenly, instead of just me looking at the mirror and going, everything's fine, it's all good here. Oh, that person just freaked out for some reason, who knows why, you know? Suddenly, there's a whole community of people that are reflecting back to us exactly what we need to work on, exactly the lessons, exactly the opportunities that we need to grow. What is the fear, then, of letting go of that independent nature? It's not letting go of independence. What I realized it was letting go of ego dependence. The ego dependence says, this is the way I am, this is the way things are, this is the way I'll be happy with things continuing to be. If they go in the way I want them to, great. If they don't, no. So that ego dependence, ask yourself, is the fiercely independent nature you have, is it serving you? Or is it holding you back? Is it limiting you? Most people here, I'm looking around, have taken discipleship with Paramahansa Yogananda, with this line of gurus. In that discipleship vow, you probably remember, there's a part about, I'm going to forget it, but I'm going to look, 'cause I've got it right here. I will join my energies to those of my Guru Bhais, my spiritual family on earth. I will cooperate with them, and especially with the living representatives and guides of my divine line of gurus. When we join our energies with others, with our Guru Bhais, those Guru Bhais, is save he who loves God. Everybody here is here because they want a relationship with the divine. We all are therefore brothers and sisters in the truest sense of the word. So I'd like to close by reading to you from How to Awaken Your True Potential. This is Yogananda's spiritual pledge, and I thought it fit well with this topic of spiritual community. You can close your eyes if you feel to. And if you feel to, you can also take this pledge as I'm reading it. I will concentrate on the teachings and will be loyal to the faithful daily practice of the techniques. I will have a little temple in my room wherever I am, a closet or even a screened off corner. I will consider myself the minister of my temple to correct myself and teach the audience consisting of my diverse, untrained thoughts and feelings, so that I may be an ideal example and thereby be of real service to my fellow beings. I will help others to the best of my ability every day, materially, mentally, and spiritually. I will endeavor to live by the following moral and spiritual rules. I will not judge others, only myself. I will strictly refuse to hear or read unkind discussions of others. I will try to be efficient in everything, neither passively depending on God, nor egotistically claiming the credit for myself when I have accomplished anything. I will make myself successful through my own efforts and the power of God in me. I will love all temples and churches as my Father's home, but I will be loyal to these teachings. I will try to support in whatever way I can my local center.